Yep. There we go.
We're still here.
Yep. Excellent.
Okay, great. Giving the guest a boot out of the thing is not a good start. But anyway, boss, again, thank you so much for doing this. I guess we're gonna have to talk nutrition. You're gonna have to tell us how we're all eating wrong and how it's actually plain simple, and we're trying to reinvent the wheel. So, mate, I'm gonna give you that microphone. I'm so fascinated on how you break it down, mate, because it when you say things, I'm like, oh, that's so simple. Oh, okay. I guess we're just gonna have to keep walking forward. So first of all, thank you, and let's talk food.
Great. Sounds great.
How did you get into this whole thing to start off with?
Yeah, so I have a very interesting, I guess, journey. I guess I'll start with okay, I was pretty athletic as a kid. I'm pretty sure my mum put us in every single sport that she could find when we were kids. And, I was just very competitive, very driven. I tried to do very well at school. And, as you grow up, especially as you grow up in Australia, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to pursue like sports, and certainly not make it a career. So when I kind of realized that, as I was coming to the age of needing to go to college, I decided, well, I think I'll, use my education and that can be my career instead. So I went to school at Deakin University in Melbourne, Australia for food science and nutrition. So that was my undergraduate degree. I kind of got done with that and felt like, wow, I feel like I could probably do another 4 degrees and I still wouldn't quite know enough. So I did take a break in between that and went and did real estate, which is super fun. I was a sales consultant for about a year while I kind of worked out what I wanted to do with my life. So that was great. And then really quickly realized that, hey, my passion is in fitness and nutrition. So I went back and was able to get into the master's program for dietetics. So I finished that, and then I started my career as a dietitian. So to kind of full circle, like to come to where I am right now, and I guess the best way that I would describe what I do is I am an influencer that provides education. So an educator in the space of exercise science and nutrition. So we have a range of different products and services. So first and foremost, my number one passion at the moment is still coaching. I still do 2 full days of one-on-one coaching, which I love. And then we also have a coaching team. We have supplement lines. We have a nutrition coaching app. I've written books. We seminar around the world. We tour, we speak, we teach. And I guess through that, career, I've also been involved heavily in the bodybuilding space. So I've competed for 7 years now in bodybuilding, and I've dabbled in many different, federations, trying to find like where I fit. And my most recent competition was here in America, in Vegas. We had the World Championships for the WBFF. So I compete with that federation as a fitness competitor. So it's been an awesome experience. But like how I got into that fitness and the bodybuilding scene was really through the work that I was doing as a dietitian back when I was, in my early 20s. So a client of mine, I remember very specifically this story. She'd said to me she was planning on preparing for the World Championships, and it was located in Dubai. And I'd always wanted to go to Dubai. Like, I love traveling. I think Australians in general love to travel. Hardly any of us actually travel our own country, but then we go everywhere else. We love to get on a plane. So I thought about that, and she said, well, you'd be great at doing it. I mean, you're very active. You've kind of fit the mold perfectly. So within 8 weeks, I'd prepped myself for, I guess, the very first competition that I needed to compete in to be able to qualify. So I had to win a state show, national show, and then you'd get to go and compete for your country. So yeah, I ended up winning that show in Dubai, and that was kind of when love at first sight took place. But I guess the journey through, I guess, my career as an educator, but also my journey through bodybuilding has not been a smooth one by any stretch of the imagination. unfortunately, when I was really young, I kind of suffered from abuse, and I have had some really traumatic experiences. And I guess the symptom, which this is all very new information to me as I've kind of done lots of therapy, the symptom of that trauma was an eating disorder. So I actually suffered with an eating disorder for 15 years. So from the age of about 15 through to the age of almost 30, I was bulimic. I suffered from binge eating disorder. And I also, when I first kind of was going through this trauma, I guess I had anorexia, but that was a very short period of time. But the bulimia and the binge eating disorder continued. So I guess I've come from all different places in as far as like my perception of myself, my body positivity, my I guess drive to be like the best, bodybuilder in the world, to almost kind of coming out of the industry altogether, because I felt, really shameful that I'd kind of used that as a weapon for my body almost. So I've had to kind of have a lot of mental tug of war moments to try and decide, like, who am I now? Who should I be educating? Who do I want to help? Do I want to encourage people to change their bodies and their aesthetics? When I know that there's this other alternative route of therapy that can, absolutely change your life through the act of mindset change and psychological shift. So that's a whole lot to unpack, but I think I've got a lot of value and experiences to share about all of those different subjects.
May I just want to say thank you for sharing all that. The one thing that stands out to me is experience. I think experience is the greatest teacher. We just have to be open to receive that lesson, and education, like that's clear. Like I said at the beginning, like you managed to put things across in a way where it's bite-sized chunks, and you're like, okay, oh, this is the next step. Okay, thanks, Holly. I'll go for that next step. And it's like, oh, and then there's a little bit one after that. Okay, I'll go for that one, rather than just like bam, 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 here you go, fuck off, good luck. And everyone starts spinning their wheels, right? And then they leave and they quit. And I think that's kudos to yourself. And I really want to touch on the philosophical part of bodybuilding, right? Because I think there's a lot of benefit to people messing around in that scene, playing with that sport of just like, listen, it's you and you, literally, and you're going to learn so much about yourself, whether it's through the training, whether it's through the sleeping, the cardio routine, whether it's through the food, or whether it's the combination of them all, right? I think it's so philosophical in a way, and you learn so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think one of the things that I would say is almost like the most important piece of advice that I have ever been given. And it was given to me very, very recently, like within the last 5 years. And that was, take the time to learn who you are, like know thyself. Because, if you can have a deep understanding of why you are the way you are, why your thought processes are, geared towards this narrative, and why you behave in such a way based on those thoughts, it can really help you elevate your strengths. And I think you can also kind of recognize your weaknesses, and that helps you achieve goals. That helps you with not only your, career, your job, your business, but I think it helps you with your personal goals, your relationships, your finances. So I think the best thing that I've ever really done, as part of, I guess, this experience of being a competitive professional bodybuilder, is taking some time to do, some psychology and doing the work on my mental health. And I think a lot of people that find themselves in bodybuilding, I don't want to say all, because I'm probably stereotyping a little bit, but for many people, and I've worked with many people, and I can kind of say that this is for the most part true, there's a lot of deep-rooted insecurities. There's a lot of, low confidence, low self-esteem. They don't feel like they have, inherent value as a person. And one of the ways that we can almost create this false facade is by, manipulating and changing the way that our appearance is to other people. So I know for me, I can speak to that personally. I was extremely, low confidence. I didn't feel like I was valuable or I was a worthy person. And particularly being female in a field that is highly like male dominant, I really felt that unless I was stage lean, like year round, and that if I wasn't like winning every single bodybuilding competition, like who is actually going to take me seriously in my career? Like, if I'm not walking the walk and talking the talk 24/7. So, I know I put a lot of pressure on myself to obtain this extremely like lean physique and very muscular physique. And, it wasn't really until I started to unpack that, peel back the layers of the onion and go like, where is this coming from? That, I really started to unravel like all of these lessons, and like that knowledge about myself has enabled me to like overcome so many limiting beliefs that I had about myself. And it's really changed my perspective on so many things. But I want to take it back to what you said before, and, people being involved in bodybuilding. There are so many valuable lessons for being in a sport, whether it's bodybuilding or any other sport, because it teaches you discipline. It teaches you what it feels like to fail and get back up again. It teaches you, how to be determined. It teaches you routine. It teaches you structure. Like there's so many valuable lessons that I think we can get from just being involved in sport and having those kind of rituals. And I think humans generally thrive when we have, stability and a stable environment, and, not just for our, day-to-day functionings, but if we've got some stability in our life and we can commit to sports or an activity, like that's going to benefit us, like not just from our like mental health, but also from our physical health down the long term too.
100%. Yeah. I think fitness is such a catalyst, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
that initial start point, that start line that then allows people to improve their lives. And I think it's such a beautiful thing you mentioned about did the therapy worked on the self-awareness, because I think it's a superpower, figuring out, peeling back the layers of that onion, right? Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Shrek with the always
Yeah.
have layers, right? That's the way I think about it. I'm like, all girls
Yeah.
have layers, but hey, I'm blonde. Um, yeah, I think that's so true. And I think without the fitness side, without that catalyst, without the something physical to slap you in the face and be like, hey, we need to do some work here. I think a lot of us would struggle, and I think that's why fitness needs to be accessible. It's why I love talking to people within the industry in whatever capacity they're in. I'm just like, great, you move, awesome. You get some endorphins, fantastic. Now, what
Mm-hmm.
do you do outside of the gym? What do you do
Mm-hmm.
outside of the pool, outside of step class, skipping, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And usually there are a lot more self-aware human beings, and I think bodybuilding just takes it a step further. And
Yeah.
I absolutely adore going back to, like, I'm going back home next week, right?
Wow.
Northwest of England, gonna go back to Manchester. And the gym I used to train at when I was like 12, 13 is, well, was given the award of the number one bodybuilding gym in the Northwest, right?
Wow.
Basically a converted house. They just slowly started converting each room. There's like bars on the windows, like the whole 9 yards. Like, I'd absolutely love this place, right? You come in, you put your coins on the side. There's no membership, never has been. You put your
Wow.
coins on the side, you put your keys on the hook, and you just kind of crack on. And like, you speak to the people in there, you literally just look at them. You're like, no, 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 I can't. I gotta run away. They're massive human beings, right? Male, female, I can't talk to them. But if you actually give them the time and speak to them, they're one of the most switched on individuals. They're one of the
Mm-hmm.
most self-aware individuals, and actually really philosophic in the way they think, because they can
Mm-hmm.
dissect something and be like, actually, talk to me about it tomorrow. And they're going to be thinking about it all night. And
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. It's like, how, because we're tied to this body, right? So it's like, how are we able to improve not just this body while we're using it, right? And
Mhm.
what other benefits can we achieve from movement, bodybuilding, CrossFit, powerlifting, whatever, because it's all the same stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think, and anything like taken to the extreme, and in the case of bodybuilding, like the guys are insanely huge, and regardless of, again, whatever sport somebody does, when you are at that level, it requires a very certain type of mindset, and you see that across all sports, which is it's very admiring. And I think I will say, as somebody that has been at the top for, different sports in their career, it doesn't come without sacrifice though. You see these people and it's extremely admirable, but because you're so invested and it takes so much of your time to be at that place, then what else in their life aren't they doing? Because you've got to be able to make those sacrifices. And I know for me, I'm married, I have 2 children, and this is within the last 5 years, like that is brand new for me. And prior to that, when I was at the peak of my bodybuilding, it was just me. I was this single girl. I had no other obligations. It was just me and my career, and I could spend as much time as I wanted on lifting. And now that I have multiple businesses, companies, we've got to manage relationships, and it's not just your like personal relationships, it's the people within your company. You suddenly have significantly less time, and it really eats me when people say we've all got the same 24 hours in the day. Well, true, but some of us do have other responsibilities that are very time invasive. So when I think about, getting back on stage, for me, I have to be very selective when I do that, because I know the amount of dedication that's required to be at the top. I've been there, I've lived that, I've done it. And if I was to try and do that like year round with family and multiple companies and also wanting to have like successful business, it's just not realistic anymore. So I've kind of had to let go of some of my perfectionisms and, my drive to be the best and be always the best and stay switched on. And that's taken a lot of work to kind of undo some of those learned behaviors, because I have always been somebody, I don't know about you, but I'm very driven. And if someone says you can't do this, I'll be like, well, we'll just see. That's my kind of attitude. So I've had to really kind of dial back, my intensity, so that I can still have these other things that are equally important to me. And that was a really rough transition for me. I think moving to America from Australia, getting married, having a family, I can't even describe how hard it was to transition away from something when you've been so all in. So I think it would be really hard as an elite athlete, the bodybuilding guys who might train twice a day, 6-7 days a week, to like step back into like, what's a normal life look like? It's just, you can't even comprehend the change.
Hell yeah. Like, I think that's where we kind of fail athletes, right? We don't help them in the transition. Usually we just, oh, you're spent, like you're broken, you're retired, you're off form. Cool. I'm just going to put you in a too hard basket. I'm going to kick you to the curb, and there's going to be a new young buck that's going to take your place,
Mm-hmm.
And usually that person that's then just been kicked to the curb has to go through some crazy psychological pathways, right? Because it's like your whole identity has just been stripped away. And that's just even more exacerbated when it's kind of self-inflicted, right? In terms of a bodybuilding sport, because you're not getting a salary, you've got to do this 7 days a week, and then you'll step on stage and you've got to do your thing maybe once a year. And I think it's really important we take that into consideration. Be like, oh, okay, you're going through a transitional period in your life. How are we able to support this? And where can you now plow your energy, right? Because usually people in the fitness industry, we're nuts, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're all missing a couple marbles, and we're playing with 48 cards rather than 52, right? So it's like, okay, where can you now plow your energy? Where can you focus on and get a little bit hyper fixated for a while, and then you can come back to that balance and that yin and yang rather than just going all in. you know, and I think it's really important. And I guess that's our job as coaches, right? I've been like, oh, you've gone way too far that way. I'm gonna pull you back a little bit. Oh, now you're falling off. I'm gonna push you forward a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely see that with the clients that I work with. And I think a lot of the time it's really managing people's expectations because, and I will say, I think social media has contributed to a lot of this. You know, we see so many people like having such amazing success. And, you know, for the average person kind of watching on and observing that, you know, if you're somebody that kind of tends to compare yourself with others, it can really leave people feeling, you know, just very unaccomplished and, you know, down on themselves. So I think one of the things that we do with our clients is kind of point out the realities of people's situations. And I think so many women, especially, they're very hard on themselves and they can't quite understand why, you know, they can't achieve the physique of their favorite Instagram influencer when, you know, they're working a full-time job, they've got 3 children, they've got a husband who's kind of in and out of their lives. And, you know, there's just all these other things. And you often, or I find myself often having to just give them that reassurance that, hey, you know, as somebody that has been there at the top and doing that and, you know, sharing my experiences with you guys, what you don't see is like where all my time is going in the day. So I think for me, one of the things that I have tried to be very open about and transparent about is this is like what my life looks like. And I'm going to tell you the good, but I'm also going to tell you the bad, because I think people innately want people to like them. Like we have social media accounts. We're not putting things up there because we want people to be like, who the heck is this? What a loser. You know, we want to show our best self. So, and I mean, I'm absolutely in the same basket. I have moments where I'm like, oh, wow, I've had a really bad day. And I won't post anything about my bad day. But, you know, I think there's so much value to being transparent about that because it helps people on the other side observing you realize that, hey, you know, it's not actually all, you know, sunshines and rainbows. There's some hard work going down as well. And you don't see the sacrifice. Like one of the things that I always laugh at. So every time my husband's parents come and visit us, they have the TV on all day and that's what they watch. Anyway, we'll have conversations and something will pop up about, you know, TV series or Netflix or something. And they're like, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that? I can say to you, I do not watch TV. I can't tell you the last time I turned a TV on, unless it was for my children to watch like Bluey or something on the TV. Like I don't have time to watch TV. So like that's a sacrifice. And I think most people probably spend at least 2 or 3 hours in front of their TV every day. So, you know, that's one thing that I can think of. I would say another thing that I can think of as a professional athlete is that when I am competing, I am tracking macros. I am putting every single food on a scale. I am, you know, declining foods that I would really love to eat. Like I can't tell you the last time that I went out and I just picked exactly what I wanted, you know, off the menu, because I know in the back of my mind, like in that competition season, I have to be on. So most people don't want to have to give up or sacrifice, you know, that kind of pleasure, because it's nice. I have to say, I like food. I'm a foodie, but you know, that is everything's a trade-off. So, you know, I think for anybody that is listening to this podcast, I think it is so important to set yourself realistic expectations. What are you willing to forego? And then what are like the must, I've got to have these things in my life. Because, you know, you have to be able to make priorities and stick to them if you want to be, you know, at a certain level with your physique.
For sure. I think people forget about ROI, right? They're like, everything's like an instant transaction. Like I'm going to say hello, you're going to say hello. We're just going to walk the separate ways. You know, I'm going to eat this. I'm going to feel good. I'm going to walk off. It's like, no. Like the actions what we take is like a domino effect. You know, we're either going to go left or right. Like we have to be able to think about this and be a little bit more methodical, guys. There's times not to be, right? So then you're going to learn from it down the line. Great. But like, hopefully experience has told us that we can get a little bit more than just an instant transaction. And food is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
It's just like, just write it down, man. Write it down and then figure out how you feel afterwards. Oh, I feel like shit. I was like, maybe don't eat that again. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I'm not an expert here, but like 2 and 2 is
Yeah.
not 5. You know, like, you don't feel good, don't eat it.
Yeah, yeah. I work with a lot of people that suffer with IBS, and I also have that. And that's been a really big game changer for me. I think for the longest time, me thinking that I'm going to be able to cure my own disease. So I just continued to do what I thought would be right. And I was miserable, eating various types of FODMAPs. And it wasn't until, I decided, hey, I need to really commit to this. And I can't have garlic and onion, period.
Wow.
So now, like, one of the things for me, which sucks because I love garlic and onion and it's in everything, like every restaurant that I go to now, like I just have to say, hey, I have an allergy to garlic and onion. Can you put this on the side? Don't do those sauces. What have you got? Don't marinate my meat in the garlic and onion, sauce and stock. So, that's been a big sacrifice that I've had to make. But at the end of the day, the benefits have far outweighed, the cost of the discomfort that came from that. So, and it's benefited for many reasons. Like, I'm a happier person now, I'm more able to get up and go and train. And, I'm just happier when my stomach feels good. So anyway, that's a side story, but to prove a point of, everything has a rate of return. So.
No, 100%. It's like, you benefit from it just a little bit and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
life is actually so much better.
Yeah.
Life is so much better when you're not in like chronic pain, right? Like, it's someone like, oh, my back always hurts. Oh, I don't know, guys. Maybe stop doing something that's going to hurt it and kind of maybe do something that's going to benefit it. I don't know. I'm not the expert here, like, maybe just common sense is the least common of all senses. And they get to that stage, right? They're like, oh, my back doesn't hurt. I'm like, yeah, maybe this is what we're supposed to be walking around like every day. It's like, oh, but
Mhm.
normal is my back hurt. And I was like, no, that's not normal. That's only
Mhm.
normal because you've ignored it for X amount of years.
Yeah, and it blows my mind the number of people as well. Again, this is kind of deviating a little bit from fitness and nutrition, but the number of people that stay unhappy or stay in pain, and they just decide they don't want to do anything about it. Like, to me, I think I've been in that place,
Yeah.
and like doing that work on the psychology side to really change my beliefs, to change the thoughts that I have. And the mind, like the neuroplasticity of our brain, is just absolutely incredible. And we know from a lot of research that, it's about 60 days of repeated changed behavior that we can form new habits. And that basically over time, if you change all of your bad habits, you're a new person. You're a new character. And, I learned that through overcoming my eating disorder. I was like, this has been something that's been with me for 15 years. And if I can change my mindset about, how I feel about myself when I look in the mirror and how I feel about myself as value as a human, if I can change that, what can I not change about my beliefs? And I could be whoever I want to be if I put my mind to it and I go about it with intention, So I love the fact that we have this amazing tool right inside our minds, our brain, that truly is like unlimited. We have the potential to do whatever. You just have to be willing to commit to doing the work.
Couldn't agree more. Ollie, I got 3 questions.
Okay.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Well, outside of taking the time to learn yourself, I think that's a really good question. I think don't try to impress everybody. As somebody that grew up as a people pleaser and somebody that really deeply desired to feel like they fit in and to be heard and to have their needs met, I have learned over the years that you will never be able to please everybody. Not everybody's going to like you. So I think and then for me in my own career, very recently, like I have come to the realization that like I've almost been living in this like fantasy life that wasn't even really mine. I was kind of living what I thought someone else wanted of me. So, getting back to the crux of it, I think be your real authentic self, Don't try to please everybody. And if you can hone in and focus on like one thing, you will find that your life will change dramatically. You let go of people that you don't need to impress anymore, like let go of relationships that are no longer serving you, that are not, lifting you up. And if you can really kind of limit, be protective of your time, and really hone in on like, who am I at heart? And then surround yourself with those people. Or if you know that you want to change something, surround yourself with the people that you aspire to be like. I guess the saying is you become the closest 5 people to you. So if you're spending time on the weekends, binge drinking and partying, or if you're just sitting around on the couch all weekend, with your buddies playing video games, like that might be fun for a small period of time. But if you do have big goals and big aspirations, I think, look in first, work out who you truly are, be, and find that authentic self, and then freaking go for it. Like, go for it. So that would be one of the things that I would check.
Fuck yeah. What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Worst piece of advice. Don't do something because it's scary. I did get that advice when I was young from somebody that I kind of looked up to, and it was basically a reflection of their own insecurities and their own fear of failure. And yeah, I got told not to start my own career, get a safe job, get a 9-to-5 job. You should, why don't you go and do this job like such and such? I'm like, no, I think I'll be an entrepreneur. Thank you. Yeah. So trying to play it safe. I think that was the worst piece of advice that I have ever been given, because I know every step and action that I've taken in my life, it's always right on the cusp of making like a calculated, risky decision. And I'm so glad that I've taken those calculated, risky decisions, because, it's enabled me to go big. And yeah, I would still be probably living in my hometown doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, and I'd be miserable. So
100% can relate to that. There's a lot of people back home doing the same thing. And I left home about 8 years ago, and I've kind of been dotting around gyms, places, cities, countries, hemispheres ever since. And I'm going to go home. I'm going to see people doing the same shit, and I'll be like, yep, I'm out. Cheers, guys. This is the kind of reality call that I needed. So nothing's safe. Nothing is safe. We're all slowly dying, but we might as well live while we're here,
Yeah, we've got one life.
Yeah, let's live it, man.
Yep.
What's 3 words you'd tell your younger self?
3 things I'd tell my younger self. I'm gonna go back to nutrition for this one, because I think it is important. When I was young, I thought that I had to do countless hours of cardio. I had to do so much exercise. All I wanted to do is be skinny and look good. And I restricted my food. I starved myself. And I wish that I hadn't done that, because now that I know what I know about metabolic adaptation and this incredible, like, robust metabolism that humans have, I really, really messed myself up when I was young. So if I could go back and tell myself again what I should do, I would say, be strong, lift lots of weights, fuel your body well, grow muscle. Don't be afraid of putting on body fat. Push through those uncomfortable, challenging moments, because, the benefits on the other side from a long-term health perspective are so, so worth it. Reverse dieting, I wish that I knew about that. Like, that was a game changer for me. And learning the cycle of fat loss and muscle building to kind of achieve optimal results, rather than just trying to starve and restrict and over exercise in order to achieve this physique that I wanted. So that would be the one thing that I would go back and change if I could do my life over.
Right.
And get therapy. I would have gotten therapy consistently every week, probably since I was 20, if I could go back and do it again, because I've had that for the last 3 years every week, and it has honestly changed my life.
Yeah.
Sorry. Psychology, the benefits of psychology. Yeah.
Crazy, right? Controlling the control center of the body, and you're like, things are a little bit better.
Imagine that.
Mate, I just want to say thank you so much. You know, I appreciate everything that you do for the wider community. I think
Mhm.
we are the base of the pyramid of the world. You know, your health, because we are bound by this body. And I just want to say thank you for your contribution, your time,
Thank
and
you.
talking a little bit of shit with a weird sounding blonde guy.
It's been great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, boss. All right, we'll talk soon and have a good day.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thanks,
Bye.
Alex.
Bye, everybody.